you know?
Yeah, I want Bill to run with it.
Yeah.
So look how great it looks. Hey, everyone on
fantastic.
Good
Instagram.
luck.
I'm so excited to be back.
Yeah.
And
It's
we
very
have
exciting.
this is one of my favorite people in the world, Bill. You know that. You were my teacher for 3 semesters, my mentor, and I consider you a great friend.
Yeah. Thank you, James.
So, Jim, is there anything you want to say to introduce Bill, or I'm going to kind of let Bill introduce himself as well?
I would because frankly, I think it's vast, and we're not going to cover every area he's
as
I'm sure Bill probably does a slew of things.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So just to tip the toe, our big toe into the deep pool of things, the easiest way to start is around the word communication. That's the easiest way to start.
Okay.
So as somebody that's been studying and working with how to communicate better, the thing that I'd like to give to or contribute to the listeners is to think about communication coming from 3 specific buckets. Now, we can spend 7 days on each one of these buckets, but let's just do an overview first, and then we're going to entertain the things that maybe challenge both of you the most, or what the audience might see as something that's a challenge. So the 3 buckets are is that communication comes from bucket number 1 is, why do people think the way they do?
Okay.
So different people think differently. So briefly, an engineer and a social worker thinks very different. They think different, they speak different, they have different vocabulary. Okay. A artist and a drill sergeant thinks very different.
Sure.
They think, they use different vocabulary, they approach the world very, very differently. Now, those 4 different kinds of thinkers, it's probably a good idea to know what vocabulary to use so you can connect better with those different kinds of thinkers. Now, like I mentioned, that's number 1. Why do people think the way they do? Number 2 is very different. It's where emotional intelligence sits. And that's, why do people behave the way they do, which is different than the why do people think differently. All right, behavior is driven by what need of ours is being met in any given moment.
Right.
Now, I'm going to say something really radical right now, okay?
Sock it to me.
Human behavior can be summarized into 1 sentence. Seriously. It's really radical. Nobody says or does anything unless a need of theirs is being met.
That's true.
By what they're saying or doing. Now, there can be 2 ways to meet their needs. They can meet their needs in a life-serving way, or they could meet their needs in a tragic way. A life-serving way is when we're trying to meet each other's needs. That's a little more life-serving.
Is it because it's ego in the way to a point?
Ego is a funny word. It's a very contextual word. It usually, in Bill Stierle's world, it's somebody that meets their need for respect or their recognition or even their self-worth at the expense of others. So ego is an important word from the perspective that it's encompassing a bunch of other needs.
Right, right.
But you also sort of need to have it because your identity is a part of it.
Right.
So when behavior comes into it, it's, I am going to pursue my needs because I'm going to feel better. So how do we feel better? Well, we feel better because we're getting certain needs met. So right now, the need for learning or contribution or awareness is actually getting energized in this room.
Right.
And we're going to feel excited and inspired and engaged and delighted and optimistic because we're actually contributing more and more to the listener. Now, all of a sudden, even as I'm speaking that way, you could see the vibration of the room actually starting to change because I'm focusing on contribution, awareness, consciousness. knowledge, wisdom. We're focusing on that, and we're putting the best of it on the table in the moment.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it just becomes a really cool conversation. So emotional intelligence is this second piece, thinking, then behaving. And why is it emotional intelligence? Because every feeling we have is being generated by a need that is causing it. So if I want to piss James off, then all I've got to go after is his need for respect. And then anger will show up on his side. But if I go after his need for consideration, he'll more feel annoyed.
It's amazing how this stuff works.
So now all of a sudden, if I am going to...
Mind-blowing.
It is
It's
really.
mind-blowing because all I got to do is shift my narrative gently, and the emotion will change on the listener. The listener actually will start to feel differently because I am, changing the molecules of emotion with every word that I speak. So watch what happens inside your body. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
We've done this before, so
What is your favorite ice cream?
I like chocolate ice cream.
Awesome. And how about you?
Vanilla.
Vanilla. Okay. So in front of you, imagine you have 2 scoops of chocolate ice cream. There is a spoon right next to it. Vanilla for you. Bowl, vanilla ice cream, 2 scoops. Spoon right next to it. Now, as you pick up the spoon and as you're ready to scoop into the bowl of chocolate or vanilla ice cream, a fly comes in and lands right on the ice cream.
Ah, bastard.
Oh, now all of a sudden the molecules of emotion changed.
Yes.
Right.
I started with pumping you up with your favorite one.
Sure.
I caused the delight. I set the image in front of you.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden,
A fly.
I added something that didn't meet your need for cleanliness. And where you just took the ice cream away.
Well, to add another layer to
Yeah.
that, I'm going to meet my need for humor when I've heard that every time a fly lands, it poops. So it just landed, pooped on my ice cream.
Right.
Okay,
Now the feeling is disgusted.
Yes.
See, it was annoyed when the fly just landed.
Right.
But is disgusted as soon as you put the poop on it. Now,
Okay.
how do we restore
Okay.
that experience?
It's easy.
Yeah,
You scoop the freaking fly and that portion
Yes,
off
of
bowl.
it.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden now
Yeah.
you went after problem solving.
That's
now
right.
there are people that are listening right now that are going like, throw the bowl away.
Yeah.
Literally all the way tilting to I am not even going to be near that bowl
Right.
because my memory
Right.
is now associated with ice cream, the delight,
And
the
the
fly, and the poop. So the whole bowl has to go.
Oh, so that becomes a narrative in their framing. They frame it as, oh, that's disgusting. And it brings them back to maybe in the past.
That's correct.
And that's something that stays in their brain, lingering.
That's correct.
I can give you an example. I have
Okay.
a friend that I reference all the time. He's a neurophysicist.
Yeah, you talk
I was
about-
explaining that I was in Hollywood going to my theater company. I ate some I ate some food somewhere. And I got food. I ended up with food poisoning.
Sure.
Horrible. Now, I don't know if that's where I got it.
Right.
But that was my best guess.
Right.
So my best guess.
Yes.
And from then on, it was really hard for me to eat Panda Express. But I don't know that that's where I got the food. But he
It's
explained that
associated.
the brain
Yeah.
will make the association,
That's
and
right.
it's hard to get over that because that's the way our brain protects us from not wanting to get sick again. or
The need
something.
for protection is very, very important.
Yeah.
So let's do that physiology piece.
Okay.
The physiology piece is the back part of the brain versus the front part of the brain.
The frontal
So the
lobe.
front part of the brain is, say this back to me, 400,000 connections.
400,000 connections.
And then the back part of the brain is 4.3 million connections.
4.3 million connections.
Okay, now this is weird.
Okay.
That means that it is a 1 to 10 ratio
Okay.
between the front and the back part of the brain. So I got 10 times amount fighting against this newer part of the brain.
Right.
Now watch what winds up happening when I point to my brain. Emotion and habit regarding safety always wins over logic and future thinking. Always.
Ain't that the truth?
Unless you can integrate that. That's why New Year's resolutions don't work.
Right. Nor does
Because-
starting like the gym and thinking just going based on you know, like your emotions for that particular moment.
Well, if you get the emotions in alignment with the habit,
Yeah.
it
But
will
it's-
override this.
But if it's not a habit,
But
in
if it
place,
is not a
I
habit,
got this.
Go ahead.
It's like going to the grocery store.
Yes.
After smoking some weed and you've got the munchies, so you buy all this stuff, but it doesn't, you know, like you don't need all that food, and then you're stuck with all this food. So it's not a good time to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like going off of impulse and emotion, when really, if you just wait until you're not
I think that
in a state of
Bill, if
going
I-
back to what you were talking
That's
about.
right. The weed will wipe out the front part of the brain.
for starters, right?
And then it just allows the limbic part of the brain to
Right.
purchase the food.
Yeah.
If I
yeah.
may- if
so
I
that
may,
wasn't
Bill-
a bad analogy,
It was
was
a
it?
very good
Okay.
analogy.
It's a good one. It's a real good one, by the way. But
Yeah.
what I'm thinking also too is that, like, if a person, okay, hypothetically speaking, you have these issues that have happened in the past, and like you said, you know, you already know like the outcome, you know, and so your body goes into like, it starts guarding. It puts up this guarding like wall up. So you're afraid to kind of like
Protection is the
you know,
need.
right, protection is the need. So you're afraid to kind of do things different, which is why a lot of people tend to fail at, like you just finished
Yeah.
saying, tend to fail at a lot of things because they already have a preconceived notion
And
of
that's
how
called,
it's going to
and
end
that's
up.
called validation.
Validation.
So as soon as you get those two needs, the protection piece and the validation piece,
Right.
the ability to change starts to reduce, or the ability to grow starts to reduce, because you're going to pick safety, and then the feeling is scared
Fear comes
or
in. Yeah.
anxious or fearful. Fearful or all of those emotions are not the problem. The problem is that we don't have a good relationship between the feeling words and the need words that are causing them. So you've heard very different people talk about fear, false evidence becoming, being real, making real. That's not, it's an interesting way to think about it, but that's the front part of the brain trying to fight the back part of the brain.
Okay. Wow.
Dealing with fear is actually pretty easy. You got
Well, you helped me when I went to get my MRI.
That's right.
Because
Yeah,
I was
That's what you mentioned to me. 'Cause
feeling,
I said,
I can handle it, but I do feel claustrophobic, and I wasn't looking forward to it. And I was like, I got to go in for this thing. I said, Bill,
yeah.
can you give me something? Do some of the Yoda
Stuff. That's right. That's my job.
Matrix type thing. And you told me, and I'm probably not going to get it exactly right, but it worked for me because I said, I was closing my eyes. I closed my eyes and I'm in there. And I said, I choose, results and good health and over anxiety. And,
Right.
That's
at the
right.
time, I remembered what you told me, and it worked
So
really
why
well.
don't- did it work?
It works because he's speaking to his heart. He's not allowing the fear construct. He's actually speaking to what his greater need is, which
why.
is
The need.
why.
The need is the why. So
Yeah, makes
he's
sense.
going to go after, I'm going to meet my need for healing. I'm going to meet my need for certainty. I'm going to meet my need for clarity about what's going on. And
like that
I
word.
can choose to relax for 15, 20, 30 minutes in the MRI because I'm just getting some healing and I'm getting some information and I'm getting some clarity, and this machine's going to provide it for me. And I'm going to choose to relax and stay in this position in
Instead
order to
of
get the information.
being anxious and having the anxiety take over, because that's easy to do. I mean, they say if you can't take it, push the button, we'll bring you out. But
Really?
then that ruins the test. Yeah, you
Yeah,
want
and
to
then
get
you got to
through.
start over
Yeah.
again, and then they got to reboot, and then it takes longer. And see, feelings are so important to us.
Yes.
There's no such thing as a good feeling.
You don't think there is?
No, there's no such thing as a bad feeling.
Well, because it's in the...
Now watch, his brain is starting to fight. It's going to start to fight with it.
Jim might
So
be
now watch what I do with Jim.
blue
Watch,
or green because he's very
watch what
analytical.
happens. Watch what happens with Jim.
It's just...
Jim.
Yeah.
If there was a small belief
Okay.
that you would be willing to change that would make a huge difference in your life, would you be willing to change it at this moment? It's going to make a big difference. It's
Sure.
going to save a lot of time and energy and problems. Would you be willing to change it?
Absolutely.
Great. Repeat after me. There's no such thing as a good or a bad feeling.
There's no such thing as a good or bad
Okay,
feeling.
stay there. One more time. There's no such thing as a positive or negative feeling. Say that next.
There's no such thing as a
Say it.
positive or negative feeling.
Say, my new belief is.
My new belief is
Feelings are only indicators.
feelings are only indicators.
Take a breath.
Jim's loving
Right?
this. I can tell.
Say, to tell me if my need is being met or not being met.
To tell me if whether or not my need is being met or not being met.
Say, I feel tired.
I feel tired.
I need rest.
I need rest.
I feel hungry.
I feel hungry.
I need food.
I need food.
Say, I feel annoyed.
I feel annoyed.
I need support.
I need weed. I need support.
Okay, so notice his need for humor jumped
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
and we
That's
all
what
jumped
mine
in there.
does all the
So
time.
all of a sudden it jumps in.
Sure.
So the feeling, the gut feeling,
Yeah.
is not to be judged. It's just to be noticed.
To be noticed.
Say, my feelings
My
are
feelings
meant to
are
be
meant
noticed.
to be noticed.
Say, I feel fearful.
I feel fearful.
I need protection.
I need protection.
See?
You see how it works?
See?
Yeah.
Say, I feel anxious.
I feel anxious.
I need choice.
I need choice.
That's what was happening to him in the MRI machine.
Yeah.
And it worked. Yeah.
I need choice. Well,
choice.
make the choice to get your need for healing and information met.
Yeah.
Hang out there and relax and choose to get healing.
It's
So it's just
amazing.
self-talk.
It's amazing when you talk to yourself. Your body will listen. Your brain will listen.
Listen.
It's the vocabulary. It really helps to change the vocabulary.
It really, really does. So this is where I provide support to others to measure emotional intelligence, to actually know if you are an emotionally intelligent person, is how quickly can you identify the feeling indicator and the need that's causing it, and then speak it in real time. The quicker you can do it, the more emotionally intelligent you are, no matter what the person says.
Uh-oh.
Ready? James, say this back to me. Bill, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't have a PhD. Say that.
Bill, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't have a PhD.
Now, that bullet is coming right over here, and it's about ready to hit my need for
Yeah.
either truth or respect. So far, so good?
Yeah.
If it hits truth,
Yeah.
I know what's coming next.
You're going to feel it.
Anger.
Right.
I've been doing this crap for 22 years. See?
yeah.
Immediately, if it hits respect.
Yeah.
If it hits the need for truth, I'm going like, yeah, he's probably right. I guess I could have spent
Yeah.
time with it. I get time to choose how
Right.
I would like to take it, as well as I have the ability to proactively diffuse what he just said. Watch.
Bill, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't have a PhD.
So, James, I'm guessing you might be feeling doubtful and you really respect people that have PhD.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm guessing also maybe that you're not putting as much value on the 22 years experience I have in high conflict mediation. You'd rather give respect to somebody that has a written paper.
Well,
Is
no,
that
I
right?
didn't really mean that.
See, now look, he's on the run now.
I mean,
He's on the run because it's the way I took it.
Sure.
So I'm going to deal with the thing he said here,
Yeah.
rather than let it hit here, cause the emotion here, and then let my limbic system take over and chop his head off.
right?
Because that's what it would want to do. It's like, listen, I've been toting this emotional intelligence thing for 22 years.
Yeah.
A PhD, are you kidding me? I can whip their butts if they
Yeah.
come into the room.
Yeah, because that's the other thing, Bill. Like, people label people. And as such, we label folks and
That's
we
right.
think that they're holier than thou. And they're not going to be, we hold them up to this pedestal. And then, these folks are, if you really think about it, there could be a person that, like, say you and I, we might know way more than this person who
That's
professes
correct.
to be
That's
a PhD
right.
or whatever.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Based
That's
on our
right.
experience.
That's
a friend of
correct.
mine
That's right.
is has a PhD. He works at UCLA, and he told me, he said, because I used to be very self-conscious
Right.
about not having a college degree.
Right.
Okay.
And he said, let me tell you something. There are students that are in the PhD program that come in and talk to me, and you're brighter than they are. You have life experience. You ran a business for over 30 years. You raised 2 children. You have grandchildren. And an education doesn't always equate to, or doesn't,
And our society leans on extending respect and recognition through various different forms of, here it comes, labels, diagnoses, certifications, degrees, and this person that's a neurosurgeon, I
Right.
know that they cannot manage conflict the way I can.
Right. Right.
They have the skill and ability, hopefully, regarding doing brain surgery, but they cannot match
Exactly.
my skill and ability in dealing with conflict or what a person says or does. Because if I'm in a room, literally, doing a mediation between 5 people in a business 2 days ago, I got to be ready for whatever the person says or does. Follow the new sentence I gave you, which is feelings are only indicators.
Feelings are indicators.
And when that person's upset, then I need to provide that person empathy and compassion for the upset that they have by naming what they're going through.
Right.
What is their feeling? What is their need that they're going through? And then also, if I'm affected by it, I'll just name what's going on inside me. This is how I feel. This is the need that got affected.
Right.
Basically, it's being able to use language in a brand new way. I want to know, what am I observing instead of judging?
Right.
So my judgment moves off, my observation gets bigger. I'm going to put a really good feeling word here so I know the molecules of emotion. There are 297 molecules of emotion inside the body.
Is that through, pardon me, and I hate to stop you, is that affirmation that'll help you do that, or how do you plan to accomplish such a feat?
It's knowing what naming the molecule of emotion,
Okay.
irritated, frustrated,
Right.
angry, fearful, and then I've got to find out what's causing it inside my body, which means is what is the need that is causing this emotion to show up? And then I've got to make a request of what I'd like to see in the world.
Right. Right.
So now all of a sudden it becomes, when I hear you say this, I'm guessing you might be feeling frustrated because you have a need for support from this other business partner of yours. And your request is they support you in this new way. Is that correct? The guy goes, yes. And all of a sudden we are starting the
new dialogue.
the new dialogue,
The new
or
dialogue.
the new collaboration to take place.
So is that where does trauma lie in all this?
Ooh, you're making my
we're
day.
getting into pathology.
Yeah, that's right. This is where it is. So trauma, or a trauma moment, is an event or an experience where there was many needs not being met in a short amount of time.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so if there's many needs not being met in a short amount of time, then what your body does is it stores the emotions, and it creates a protective awareness about these particular needs. And then when anything that looks similar, it proactively names it, labels it, and says too dangerous.
Much like a relationship, a toxic one at that, and you sort of feel like you're about to re-enter that same pit that you were in a few years behind,
Maybe
and then
familiarity.
Right.
That's right.
Comfort.
The same
That.
pit. You'll draw the same. There isn't. We draw the same kind of person that sets off our stuff while we set off their stuff. The human body's a little strange like this. It would like healing to take place. It wants to discharge the trauma, but it doesn't know how to do it from a language place. So I work with clients and businesses to practice ways to get these trauma experiences to sit in the past,
Right.
and not be alive or active in the moment. And then I watch them grow and change quickly, because the trauma is not you grabbing them by the ankle, grabbing them by the wrist, grabbing them by the throat anymore.
It's empathy and sympathy.
It is empathy before problem solving.
Okay.
Sympathy doesn't get you there. It is kind of like a Band-Aid over an infected wound. Sympathy.
Right, trying to
So,
Need some antibiotics.
yeah, it's
Right.
like
Short term.
you need to give the full empathetic connection,
Right.
which is a feeling word and a need word, not just the feeling word, because if you just use the feeling word, they'll just get pissed off.
Really?
Yeah, sure. Just say this back to some, oh gosh, I'm seeing you feel sad about that.
Right.
Damn right I feel sad. Well, how did sad turn into anger really quick?
Real quick.
Because
Seconds.
you didn't name the sadness. Could you be feeling sad and you really have a need for connection? Yes.
right. A
Now
whole
it
different-
reduces.
Isn't that amazing?
Because
Wow.
it reduced the
Zero to 100.
the emotional load. It gets a little spooky and
Mind
goes
blown.
mind
there, I
blown
thought.
right there.
So how do we deal? Like, let's talk about, just a mundane, day at in the 405 freeway, for example, and everyone's at each other's throats.
Oh, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
It's like the MRI.
That is going to be, simply speaking, the need for consideration or fairness or cooperation that we expect on the freeway. What is
Yeah.
that? Or the need for ease or the need for timeliness. All of that stuff is happening on the road. Let's do something hard instead. Pick something difficult right now.
Let's pick a lock.
And if you pick something difficult, you can pick something either relationship wise or political wise, and I can show you how, or pick a very difficult label or diagnosis that people call each other, and we can do something more difficult. On the freeway, it's 5 needs.
Yeah.
Consideration, ease, timeliness, comfort,
All right, I
those
gotta
are
go.
easy
Let's talk
ones.
about politicians without getting into politics.
Oh, it's
Let's
very
not-
easy. Oh my God, politics.
Like a lot of
yeah.
politicians have one thread. That's the common thread, is they like fame. They like to be the validation they get from people many a times.
Yeah, that's a really good one. So,
Yeah.
for example, somebody as a politician might be trying to get their need for respect to be met,
Right.
or their need for recognition to be met, or their need for acknowledgement to be met,
Or their financial needs.
or their need for financial needs to be met. Or if they're tragic, then they're going to mix in fairness. I should get more because.
Okay.
Now all of a sudden it's getting a little darker. If they put their self-worth into it, they might say a sentence, nobody can solve this except for me.
Right.
That's a
Right.
self-worth or an identity piece. Now all of a sudden it's getting dark really quick because there's a bunch of needs that are now the person's trying to get met. And then therefore they have to create a story or a narrative that causes people to say, yeah, you're that, that person. You really should get respect and recognition and acknowledgement and self-worth and identity and fairness and truth because you're the only person that can solve this.
So then they end up.
yeah.
That's where the gaslighting begins.
That's where the gaslighting begins because the person is just using language to invigorate a person's fixed belief structure that either they're in the right or the other side is evil, dangerous, or tragic. So,
There's a lot of pathology in
there's a
politics.
lot of pathology that lives in that space. So what do we do to step in or to diffuse that?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Oh,
What do we do, Bill?
Refrain from judging, labeling, and diagnosing,
Empathizing.
and problem solving. Replace that with an empathy guess towards the person that is giving us the thing that's untrue. So it might sound like this. So it sounds like you have the thought that the need for fairness wasn't met in the election, and your truth is that there needed to be more focus on how the counting is done. Is that correct? They say yes. Now they're accountable for the counting.
Oh, okay. You put the ball in their court.
Because the ball's in their court.
Right.
Now all of a sudden the empathy that you just mentioned is they're feeling their need.
Wow. Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you're there feeling in their need and they say yes. Could you tell me how you would like to count differently moving ahead for 2024? What might that look like? They're now on the plank.
Right.
Because they don't have an answer. So you'd say, well, I don't know. Would you be willing to work with me so that the counting could be fair? Yes. Now all of a sudden, they're buying into the concept that they're saying that's not there.
The very thing they're against.
The very thing they're against. They have to like say, no, I'm interested in fairness. I'm interested in accuracy. We do want to stand for the principle that we only want Americans to vote, right? Yeah. Yes. Good. Okay. What can we say or do to make sure that we have certainty and trust that
And truth.
See, that doubt and skepticism showed up and is swung in there, which is excellent. And the need for truth, because it's very important for us to have accurate counting. Isn't that correct? Yes. Great. What would you be willing? What can we do to create that counting? What do you propose to create it to take place? I guess we could count them twice. Okay. So if counting them twice for every elections, you would like to count them twice. Yes. Okay. So let's do that then. Would that give you the trust that you need? Yes. Okay. Well, is there anything else you request? Well, I just want to make sure that the people that are not putting in extra votes. Oh, so you would like greater accuracy. Right. So the tracking system has to be better for you. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, so let's look at the tracking system to do that. Would you be willing to work with me on the tracking system? Wow. I can be a Republican or a Democrat saying the same thing, and it keeps the person out of getting painted into the corner, which is what is happening. That's correct.
Labeled.
The labels and diagnosis. Yeah. I'm not interested in whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. I'm interested in fairness.
Right.
I'm interested in accuracy.
So how do we measure the truth?
The truth has multiple perspectives based on, here it comes, this beholder. Is unsettling, what the listener and the beholder is based on category 3. Remember, earlier today I was talking about here's thinking communication and here's behavioral communication, emotional intelligence. What is category 3? Category 3 is beliefs. Beliefs, biases, fallacies, and we've got to bring a lot of empathy and compassion towards
belief systems.
A person's belief system, because if you want to promote your religion and I want to promote my religion,
and then there's judgment, and then we all go to war.
It's like, why are you fighting that? I mean, why don't you really talk about how you would like to live to the belief that this is the way Russia is supposed to look. Well, if I'm going to empathize and be compassionate towards Vladimir Putin, I'm going to bring his most important needs to the table. Right. You would like to restore the Soviet Union the way you would like it to be. Is that correct? Yes. And the one way to do that is to have Ukraine be a part of the Soviet Union. Is that correct? Yes.
That's deep.
And the first way to do that is to state some things that you would like to claim as yours. Is that correct? Totally. That's correct. Yeah. Gosh, I'm wondering how choices. Would you like the choice of the people to stay there or the choice of the people to leave? What would you like? Huh?
I guess it all depends on which side you're on, and what's been told to you, basically.
Just one thing. Make sure you hashtag valid Putin.
Oh, yeah, we can hashtag, or we can hashtag the State Department, because they don't have the language narrative to get there.
Right.
They're in the adversarial piece. Mm-hmm. They're into, we have the rules. Now, I just want to let everybody know here at this table, as if you already don't know this. Do you happen to notice that certain people break the rules and kind of get away with it. Have you ever noticed that particular
Yes.
detail?
Yes. Like Vladimir Putin, right?
And then we can go down
got
the
his
list
name,
of
Vladimir.
either Republicans or Democrats or business owners that meet their needs at the expense of
us, the
truth,
taxpayer.
at trust, at the taxpayer, at elements of fairness, because all you got to do is promote an idea, hook into a person's belief, and the person will follow.
And just vilify everything.
And then you just label and diagnosis. See, labels and diagnoses and vilification is really where the limbic brain gets hooked easiest.
Right.
Because I know something, and if I have a belief that rich people are blessed by God, did you see how the room just got silent really quick there? Is that really true, that rich people are blessed by God? No. In certain, religions, people believe it depends which religion. It depends with God. But you know what? If you have that thought that
you could sell your soul to the devil and make all that money too. Like that's your God.
And that all of a sudden there is the belief that is sitting in that place.
Right.
Then that's where it becomes very, very unsettling, because you got to bring a lot of empathy and compassion for how that belief, now please be careful with not falling off the chair, how that belief provides us as human beings stability. All three of us have a different set of beliefs.
Right.
That provides our brain stability. Yeah, try throwing those up in the air, and guess what happens? Is like, oh my gosh, I used to believe this back then. Now, what am I going to replace that belief with?
Right.
Am I going to replace it with something that's healthier for me, that's going to help me grow?
Yeah, some people are so set in their ways, and they dig their heels in, and they don't change for the better. Right. I was just thinking about how there's so many different religions, and I always say, each one, they're pretty convinced that theirs is the right one, and it is right. Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if everyone should just get together and say what's best for the common good?
Right. Oh, you're asking for collaboration and cooperation.
Yes,
and you're asking for acceptance. And you're asking for tolerance.
Wouldn't that be
great?
See,
I just four needs on his side.
Right.
Okay.
See? When you identify those.
Yeah, identify the conversation.
I think it's fair to say that the groundswell of information that saturates our airwaves, such as technology, modern day technology, has taught us that there's more than one truth.
Right.
Versus before this
look at
internet.
Social media, TikTok, these 30-second, the attention span is getting smaller and smaller, and these people are getting their information from these,
so you say
these
that's
talking
true.
Points.
You say that's true. How do I know? How do we fact check what you just said?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You can't fact check the fact checkers, and the fact checkers are checking
that's their opinion.
Yeah. So it's not as loose as what you described it. It's actually a little more solid than it is. So if you're listening to something that is getting you riled up, the first thing to do is to check in to say, is this just validating my belief? And am I too lazy to check this out or to stay in the observation place? Am I just going to just take this verbatim?
Right.
Or am I going to say, well, that could be true? The more we introduce the sentence, it's a superpower sentence. That could be true. That one allows us to have much more stability with our need for truth and trust.
Okay.
By just saying, well, that might be true. Well, that could be possible. And I'm guessing I'm waiting for some more information about that.
Right.
And you know what the universe does? It will put the information right in front of you. Once you hold on to it and have greater access to truth and trust, you have better control over doubt and skepticism.
Oh, wow.
Now, say this back to me. I feel doubtful.
I feel doubtful.
I need truth.
I need truth.
I feel skeptical.
I feel skeptical.
And I need trust.
I need trust.
Take a breath. Look at James. Say, I feel doubtful.
I feel doubtful.
I need truth.
I need truth, man.
You know what? I feel skeptical.
I feel skeptical.
You know, I need some trust.
I need some trust.
He is wiring his neural net all the way from his belly button to the limbic part of the brain right now.
Wow.
He just literally just shifted. And by the way, those two sentences hit me like a lightning bolt when I first learned this.
Really?
Because I was driving in a car and I was going like, holy crap, it can't be that easy. This feeling of doubt is coming from my need for truth not being met. And as soon as I took a breath, I went, yeah.
It makes sense.
I now am owning my own truth now.
Totally.
And I'm okay. I'm not judging doubt.
Right.
I'm okay with doubt being an indicator that is asking me to broaden
The validation.
or expose or and what do you call expand my range of truth.
Right.
So now I see something on the internet and I'm okay with it because, well, I kind of feel doubtful about that, but also I need to adjust my truth about how the Aztecs were doing this at the same time as the Egyptians were doing that. I need to change my worldview because in the field of time, there were two different things going on at the same time. And
Right.
I grew up with this belief over
Right,
here about
right.
the Egyptians, and I need to readjust my mindset regarding the Aztecs about
Yeah.
what was happening, let
It's
alone
like the whales communicate, or they sing the same song from different
Yeah.
sides of
Right.
the world. They've never
Right.
even been near each
The
other.
folklore might be different.
It's
from
just
the-
amazing.
what
So,
the-
yeah.
than
So,
what I learned from you.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And it's just so invigorating from that we can tune our communication inside our body to match our neuropeptides that are shifting from time to time. They're shifting from time to time because all I got to do is say chocolate ice cream, vanilla ice cream, and there wasn't a fly, and now you can eat the ice cream.
There wasn't a fly.
He just felt relieved.
Yeah.
Now
yeah,
all
because
of
I
a
was
sudden,
thinking about the fly before you even got to it.
Yeah.
But then when you said,
there was no fly.
what's the word you say to
Cancel clear.
cancel clear?
Cancel
Cancel
clear. Is that the comfort word? Like the,
Oh, it's
I've
it's
seen
a reset word.
Bill do it
Reset
with the
word.
whole class.
Oh, yeah.
Think about, did you know that there were spiders and nests underneath the chairs?
Okay.
And everybody started thinking about it. And then he said,
Girls were
not really. Yeah, they were jumping out of their chairs.
Sure.
And then he said, I was just saying that. It's not true. Cancel clear. Everybody say cancel clear, and then you can just feel the room.
The whole
Yeah, 'cause
room.
it's such a powerful word. Cancel clear. It's almost like it resets everything.
That's correct.
That's beautiful.
That's right.
Beautifully said.
There's a ability. So if I'm watching a Fox News or an MSNBC,
Right.
A person getting aggravated,
Okay.
I then just empathize with what they're saying or doing.
Their
Wow, it sounds like
frustration.
Tucker's feeling angry, and he really has a need to communicate and connect with his audience, and he's looking to use the words and phrases and stories to connect so that his viewership will watch
Sure.
and his ad revenue stays high
Right.
so he can keep his job.
Exactly.
Well, I guess that's an interesting strategy. He doesn't meet my need for truth.
There you go.
Now, all of a sudden, he is mitigated in my mind.
And you're
I
not
don't-
all riled up.
And I'm not all riled up. I'm going like, let's pay attention to what need he's going for. Financial security,
Right.
connection with a listener base.
Yeah.
He's using the tactics of dopamine raising by
Yeah.
using his sentences. He's using a reward, a anticipation, and an uncertainty sentence in order to hijack his listeners' emotions.
Right.
Exactly. Because
Look-
even if you agree with some of these people, whichever side you listen to,
Yeah.
you can
Right.
listen to this radio station on XM
Sure.
Sirius Radio or this set of radio stations. You listen long enough and you start coming from a place of observation.
That's right.
You start seeing that, hey, this is their job. This is
Right.
the way they do their job. This is how they're getting people.
Riled
They're
up.
hitting emotions.
Yeah. It's all
amazing when you start-
certain triggers that they do because that keeps, like you said, the revenue going
have to
on both sides
They can't-
But the key word was observation. When you're
Observation.
more observative,
without judgment.
without
Yeah.
judgment. That's right. And then if you go for the need that both the communicator, Tucker Carlson or Rachel Maddow, what need are they going for? And what the need of the listener is, validation, certainty, engagement, that they're in a tribe, so that's independence, individuality.
Yeah,
so
they're part of something.
They're wearing the hat. They're wearing the T-shirt. They're wearing the the A's right there.
The Angels.
Angels, they're Angels.
Anaheim Angels, baby.
Anaheim Angels, baby. So all of a sudden, as soon as we mention angels, we imagine the halos. We imagine the things.
Well, here's the deal. It's funny because if I'm wearing an Angels hat, but truthfully, I could also be a Dodger fan, which I grew up by Dodger Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's funny because you could wear an Angels hat, and it's almost like in some places, thankfully not in Los Angeles anyway. In other places, it would be like no different than wearing a MAGA hat. Something like, whoa. You're not allowed to wear that hat.
One time I was coming out of a bar after being there for way too long, had way too much to drink, and I saw a guy coming in, stone cold sober, wearing an Angels hat.
Yeah.
And I was a Red Sox fan.
Right.
And they were in the playoffs. And I said, the Angels suck. They're going to lose. And I didn't mean anything by it. It's just me shooting my mouth off. And we got into this thing, and I got a broken tooth out of it.
You did.
Going back to
but that goes to show you how
the
people can be triggered.
Yeah.
Triggered because I may have been just tongue-in-cheek, goofing around, not meaning anything by it. But then when he got aggressive, I got aggressive back because I wasn't, inebriated.
We should hang out at a sports bar sometime. It'd be perfect to watch in action.
Well,
it's so much fun.
There was another time I was at a bar across the street. Not that I frequent bars all the time, people, but I was at a bar across the street. It just happened to be a Hooters, right across from the Angel Stadium, and they were playing the Red Sox, and they were getting crushed by the Red Sox, and I was one of the only Red Sox fans in there. There was a couple other people, but they had their head in the table, and I'm doing the happy dance, and people are throwing paper towels at me. The bouncers had to come around because I'm
do the happy dance.
I'm celebrating. I don't care. I'm from the back there, so I'm gonna, and it was kind of funny because you just see how.
Well, some people have lost their lives.
My request is for the two of you to think about this a little differently. And here's the request. The request is that over the last 30 years, there have been certain elements in our society that have been destabilized. And one of the elements that have been destabilized is the local community that we live in. Another thing that's been destabilized is family. Another thing that's been destabilized is religions.
Right.
How do we know this to be true? Well, the number of atheists has moved from 13% to 29%. So
interesting
what does
stats.
that mean? So that means that our communities of certainty have changed. So now all of a sudden the weight falls on human beings to grasp for the things that they can create certainty around. Here's when it gets interesting. What are available or safer to have certainty around? Sports teams. So that's why you're going to see a fight at a Rams game. You're going to see a fight at a Chargers game or whatever.
Raiders,
it's like Raiders or whatever, because these other social constructs have started to trickle down and don't have any certainty around them because of various different reasons. There's certain churches are losing 15,000 members a month.
I think COVID had a lot to do with that also.
The COVID pressure also caused the disconnection between communities and families, and it introduced that there wasn't certainty.
Right.
And then also because we didn't have a solid narrative show up from the federal government.
There's also fallacy in some preachers and priests. Say if they have the wrong narrative, they fall off of grace. You have that one couple who are swingers of sorts, and then they messed up their testimony in the church. Ooh. So all those people, what do you think that's going to happen? The house of cards is going to fall.
Can you get back to the swingers? Because that sounded interesting. I lost you after that.
I lost as soon as you brought that element in.
If you folks,
that's a whole other podcast.
Right. It's a whole other podcast. The need for certainty and stability that we need as human beings can be easily shifted and then cause our limbic brain to sort of get scrambled. So, for example, if or when a alien comes in the door here and walks into this room right now
Okay.
and stands in front of us. Now, all of a sudden, if and when, because I just introduced the
Right.
possibility of showing up,
Yeah, it can happen.
now all of a sudden it can happen. Now, the problem is now all of a sudden they've just hijacked your limbic brain to either
Right.
go protection. There's
Right.
doubt and skepticism on whether or not the alien's going to come in and what kind of alien it's going to be.
gonna be
Is it going to be
friendly.
one that's going to be weaponized or one that's coming out of peace and harmony to just join our wonderful conversation and pull up a chair?
Yeah.
Or is the person coming in with a laser gun that is going to fry us in this seat?
Down to a crisp.
Now, all of a sudden, as soon as he says that, then our limbic brain goes into a little more protection mode.
Sure.
Like hide,
Now,
run.
if we're in a discussion with a war hawk and a hippie that's going after peace and harmony, the peace and harmony thing is going to that person's going to hand this person a
flower.
And then the war hawk's going to go like, I'm shooting that person's first.
Yeah.
Now all you got to
Blast 'em
do,
away.
all you got to do is watch the movie Mars Attacks
Okay.
with Jack Nicholson and all the cast of characters.
Oh, I
and
gotta
all of them
revisit that. I saw it
getting-
years
all of
ago.
them getting fried, and you can see liberals are thinking about it one way.
Uh-huh.
The military and the conservatives are thinking about it the other way. As soon as this Mars attacks, as soon as the Martian shows up, all of a sudden this, the peace and harmony, and all of a sudden the dove gets thrown up, and then all of a sudden, the Martians shoot the dove. And then all hell breaks loose.
Uh-oh.
All of a sudden, everybody starts getting shot. Oh, they're interested in peace. Yeah, we're going to throw, and we're throwing a symbol of peace, the white dove.
Right.
And the Martian just shoots it out of the sky.
That's hilarious.
Starts shooting it up. It's like,
funny.
wait a minute, they might be a little bit more dangerous than we thought they would
a little more
be.
aggressive than
little
we
more
first
aggressive.
thought.
It's that part of our brain that would like different needs of ours to be engaged. And we've got to remember in communication, here's this thinking part, here is this behavior part, and here is this belief part. Those three different moments or different buckets of communication. All of us have a driver's license in here.
Not me. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
No, I don't. Kidding.
Okay, so a
This
driver's
need for humor was
yeah,
just
need
being
for
there.
humor.
Need.
So the driver's license gives a certain amount of certainty and confidence
Sure.
to you.
Yeah.
And most people will say, "I'm a great driver."
Right.
There's a problem though. The problem is that when you ask people, "Are you a good communicator?" "Oh, I'm a great communicator."
You can flip everybody off on the freeway. Communicate how much
I'm
you hate 'em.
communicating how much I hate him. It's like, no, I don't think your communication skills are all that great right there. Now I get to say what I want. I was like, well, I'm not sure that that's going to get you all the things that you'd like.
Yeah.
So again, we do have a lot of things to learn to become better communicators, to use empathy before problem solve, to make sure that message sent is message received. And then also to have a lot of grace around mistakes and misunderstandings so we can make it safer for people to communicate with each other.
Ladies
I
and
like
gentlemen,
that. Yeah,
Bill
that's a great.
Stierle, please.
Hey,
Now-
Where can we find you?
Bill, you're
ahead.
going to come back first
Yeah.
of all.
okay,
You have to come
I'll
back.
be glad to come back.
There's a lot we didn't cover.
Yes.
We didn't delve into the acting aspect that you've taught.
Oof, yeah, that's a good
also,
one.
what you do for Fortune 500 companies.
I do.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
And I heard a rumor that you played a little football when you were younger.
I did. I did play some
So there's a
football.
lot more to cover.
There is.
We want you
Wait,
back.
I was
but-
on a TV reality show, so
Oh,
See,
you were?
there's a
yeah,
lot of
that's right.
things.
Yeah, that's
A lot
right.
of
Yeah,
things. So we're
yes.
going to have a part 2 sooner than later.
Yep.
And I want to put some things in the description.
Yes.
Any links, any
we'll
your
do all that.
Instagram, all that stuff.
Oh, good.
Because what do you offer for groups, like for businesses, for anybody that wants to have like a seminar from you?
That's correct. That's right. I do trainings for companies. I do individual coaching for both personal challenges as well as for business executives. And so the trainings that I do are really around emotional intelligence, how to create and increase productivity, or if you want to do sales narrative, how to do better on the sales process to shorten the sales cycle, or the from the contact to the closure of the sale.
That's
how do you
very important.
shorten those things so it's not as long as most people are experiencing.
Right.
And then for the big challenges that we're facing, wouldn't it be great to have somebody that you can literally text a sentence, and then I will text back a response to that sentence that's compassionate and empathetic, that will work, that'll de-escalate the conflict.
Wow.
Well, someone
That's what I offer.
that we both know very well,
Yes.
who co-created your curriculum that you teach in an accredited college type school, mentioned that you were really working with people as far as relationship work goes.
That's correct. Yeah.
And that was another thing that I found fascinating. I just want to say real quick, because I don't want Jimmy to close his laptop.
Keep going, man.
It helps out so much. I'm not sure how much you incorporate the color thing that we were doing in class, but once you start understanding different personality types in sales, in my business, because I'm a painting contractor as well as an actor, and I went to a customer's home, and this guy, nice as can be, I'm not saying he had an arrogant, he didn't have any kind of an air of arrogance or anything like that. He was just a very mellow, nice guy. But I started telling him about, oh yeah, boy, the weather, and it's this and that, and he was just stone-faced. As soon as I started talking about the job, he was engaged with me, and I could just see by explaining he was a certain color out of the group that was more of an analytical, wants the facts, not in a. I've seen guys that are kind of jerks about it.
Right.
This guy was so nice, and it just helps you sell. Now you get someone that's saying, I'm not sure what color I want to paint this because, this has been making me feel kind of drab with this color. And you say, you put something that will brighten up the room, make it look bigger, and then all of a sudden they light up. So now you're dealing with, so it's really helpful in sales, I have to say.
It really is. And you've got some really good stories where somebody says a sentence and then you are more compassionate and supportive and get them to tell you how they can be sold best by you.
Right.
And that's a big part of it's called a pull sale versus a push sale.
And
the push sale is, what am I going to do for you? Here's my features and benefits.
Right.
You see how my hands like that?
Yeah.
Just cut and dry.
And that's great. And then on this side, a pull sale is what's going to make the biggest difference for you. Right. How do you want to experience our interaction? And the person goes, well, actually, I just like,
I just want to know what order you're going to do things in.
That's right.
Or I just want to know what the numbers, what's the bottom line on the time frame and the numbers. These are different types. I might be
thinking styles.
crossing
Yeah, that's good.
over
That's
a little
pretty
bit.
close.
And then there's the emotional, and then there's a risk taker who's like, hey, let's try this. And do you have any ideas? Can you tell me what you think this would look like?
Right.
So these are different personality types. The other thing is in conflict resolution, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
One time I was walking down an alley, and this young guy was driving up, and he beeped the horn at me. I was looking at my phone, and I kind of muttered the fuck, who honking at, and he stopped, he rolled down his window, and he said, what did you say? And I said, you were concerned about my safety, so you beeped the horn because you didn't want to hit me, right? And he went, both of us, I was a little bit pissed. He was, visibly he was angry. But then once I said that, everything just went down.
Over.
And he goes, he said, I got to stop saying he goes. He said, yeah, that's right. I just beeped the horn, so I wanted to,
Right.
And then it's just amazing
the
because I learned
dialogue.
that from Bill.
That's right.
Otherwise, I would have been like, "Hey, what's your problem, dude?
Your problem?
Like, why are you
beep
beeping at me?
Didn't you see me in the
Yeah,
crosswalk?
it's like you're 20
50
feet
away,
50 feet
you know?
away. Yeah.
It's language, language.
The only one more thing I want to say, and this is a real short one, is for actors, because I have a lot of friends that are in the entertainment business. I've gone into pitch meetings with Lonnie, and I've seen her pitch shows. I've seen the way this works. And once you understand some of the stuff that Bill teaches, when you go into a casting director and they start small talk or they don't, and you start understanding how directors are a certain personality type, a casting director might be, or when you're in with studio execs and they might want to know what kind of, how do you think the audience is going to feel about this? Another one might be, what do you think the numbers are going to be? What do you think the ratings are going to be? You can do it serves you well because you can pitch better.
You know what I appreciate is think of it as like that there is 4 different radio stations. And these radio stations have different frequencies. So you're changing the dial, language-wise, to have the listener engage. Is this person engaging from the place of rational, logical thinking? Is this person engaging from this other radio station called sequential and straight, or are they listening to this other station over here regarding interpersonal connection, or are they listening from the station of creativity?
Right.
What station are they listening to?
You ever
And then once you
that,
identify that, and you could do it that quick,
And
then you communicate in a whole different way, and it can serve you whether you're in a position of sales where you're trying to, like I provide a service of painting their house, and I want to get the job. So the better that I can sell them, or if I'm in a pitch meeting, I don't care if you're in music or acting or you're a writer or whatever. Once you kind of get their personality, you can communicate with them in a way where they're going to like you. They're going to be kind of like, hey, I feel a connection now. I feel like we're on the same page.
That's right.
And that's a great place to end, because I know Jimmy's looking at these.
No, good.
We went over.
But
this one, we've done double episodes before where we split it in part 1, part 2. But we're going to get you back. Yeah,
Okay,
we're going to get you
good.
back.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out, because if you're sitting with any conflict that is happening over and over again, it's already cost you too much of your life and your time, and it's worth to put it in the past and get to closure on it. Even the toughest ones, even the trauma pieces, I've worked with many people in that space, or the day-to-day disconnections that can take place between spouses or partners, the day-to-day disconnections that can take place between parents and their kids, or between coworkers or business partners. All of those different conflicts, if you've been sitting with it and it keeps coming up over and over again as a ruminating, gerbil wheel, that's please get
Reach
some
out.
support and reach out. Yeah,
because you honestly don't want to get stuck in the rut. Man.
Well, no, and my personality type, because of all this stuff that I found myself, I operate on emotion or sometimes fantasy.
Right.
And when you switch over to, instead of emotion, logic, and you get out of the fantasy and reality, because sometimes you have to ask yourself,
we live in a fantastical world.
Okay, yeah. So that being said, it was a great podcast episode.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Bill,
Okay.
such a pleasure.
Yeah,
See you
it's
again
pleasure.
soon.
Absolutely, man. We'll have a lot of fun.
James,
Hey, we did it.
we did
Thanks,
it.
guys.
We're
Thanks.
back.